Welcome to the results video for UFC Fight Night Petr vs Deiveson Figueiredo, where we will find out which UFC YouTube channel had the most and least correct picks and won or lost the most money with their picks. But first, we'll take a quick look at the totals and compare the Oddsmakers versus the Tapology community and the YouTube Prediction Channels. On this card, there were a total of 13 fights. I tracked 78 channels and those 78 channels made a total of 917 predictions. On average, each channel made 11.8 predictions. 516 out of 917 predictions were correct for 56.3% correct and 401 were incorrect for 43.7%. The favorite fighter in odds on this card won 10 out of 13 times, and if you placed a $100 bet for the outcome of each fight only on the favorite fighter, you could have won $213 for a 16.4% return of investment. However, placing that same $100 bet on only the underdogs would have made you even more profit. You would have only won 3 out of 13 bets, but you would have a higher net profit of $275 for a 21.2% return of investment. And that's because some of the 3 underdogs that won were very big underdogs. The first underdog was Nicolas Motta, who won versus Macau with plus 200 in odds for a payout of $200. The second underdog was Ming Shi, who won against Xiao Feng with a devastating head kick KO. She was an underdog with plus 400 for a $400 payout. But the biggest underdog on this card was Gabriela Fernandez with plus 675 for a payday of $675, and she won against Wang Kang, who was the biggest favorite with minus 1050. The favorite in picks by the Tapology community won only 6 out of 13 times. By following all of their favorite picks and placing a $100 bet on each, you could have lost $416 for a return of investment of minus 32%. And the favorites in picks by the YouTube Prediction Channels won 7 out of 13 times for a loss of minus $269 and a return of investment of minus 20.7%. So this week the Oddsmakers were best at predicting the winner of each fight. Which YouTube channel had the least correct picks this week? In 5th place we have MMA Attic and Sportsbook Killer. They both had 50% correct, but MMA Attic had 6 out of 12 correct and Sportsbook Killer 5 out of 10. In 4th place we have 15 channels. All 15 had 6 out of 13 predictions correct for 46.2%. In 3rd place for least correct picks we have Home of Bets with 5 out of 12 correct for 41.7 correct pick percentage. In 2nd place we have Ray Box from Bros Talk MMA, UFC Ginny and UFC Thoughts. All 3 of them had 5 out of 13 picks correct for a correct pick percentage of 38.5%. And the channel this week with the least correct picks was Udika from Bros Talk MMA. Of his 13 picks, only 3 were correct for a correct pick percentage of 23.1%. Of all the channels in this list for the least correct picks, there's one channel that made it into the top 3 of this week's most profitable predictors, which we will go over in a couple of minutes. In 7th place for most correct picks this week we have Santino from the Santino DeFranco podcast. He had 7 out of 11 correct for 64%. In 6th place is Sean from the Running Mouth MMA show with 8 out of 12 picks correct for 67%. In 5th place we have these 7 channels. All 7 had 9 out of 13 correct for a 69% correct pick percentage. In 4th place we have James Lynch. He made 10 predictions and 7 of them were correct for 70%. In 3rd place we have Clenbat. He made 8 predictions with 6 correct, so 75% correct pick percentage. And in 2nd place for most correct picks this week we have 138 MMA, Brando MMA and the MMA Fortune Teller. All 3 of them had 10 picks correct out of their 13 for a correct pick percentage of 77%. And in number 1 this week with the most correct picks in percentage we have Paul from the Dogger Pass podcast. He made 9 predictions and 7 of them were correct for a 78% correct pick percentage. So congratulations to Paul for having the most correct picks, but also congratulations to 138 MMA, Brando MMA and the MMA Fortune Teller for also having a high correct pick percentage. And here is the overview of all channels with their correct picks, their total picks and the correct pick percentage. For the next section of most unprofitable and profitable predictors, we will pretend that you placed a $100 bet on the outcome of the fight on every pick our channel made. So that means picks with high, medium or low confidence, or picks when they don't like the odds. And to calculate these results, we will use the odds from the tail of the tape that are shown before each fight. In 11th place for most unprofitable predictors, we have Cody from the Dogger Pass podcast with a loss of $429 and a minus 33% return of investment. In number 10, we have MMA Lock of the Night and the Mike Finz Show. They both made the exact same predictions for a loss of $437 and a minus 33.6% return of investment. In 9th place is Double Vision MMA 365 with a loss of $440 for a minus 33.8% ROI. In 8th place is King of Crackdown 5095 with a loss of $448 and a minus 34.4% ROI. In 7th place is Have to Battle with a loss of minus $456 and an ROI of minus 35.1%. In 6th place we have Kunat with a $1 higher loss of minus 457 total and a return of investment of minus 35.2%. In 5th place this week for the most unprofitable predictor we have Home of Bets with a loss of $470 and a minus 39.1% return of investment. In 4th place we have Ray Bucks from Bros Talk MMA with a loss of $536 and a return of investment of minus 41.3%. In 3rd place is UFC Genie with a loss of $594 and a return of investment of minus 45.7%. And in 2nd place for most unprofitable predictors we have UFC Thoughts with a loss of $602 for a return of investment of minus 46.3%. And in number 1 this week for the most unprofitable predictor is Utica from Bros Talk MMA, who also had the least correct picks this week. If you followed all of his predictions and placed a $100 bet on each for the outcome of the fight, you could have lost $873 for a return of investment of minus 67.2%. Who were the most profitable predictors this week if you followed all of their picks and placed a $100 bet on the outcome of the fight? At number 10 we have the MMA Fortune Teller with a profit of $213 and a 16.4% return of investment. At number 9 is Clenbat with a profit of $239 but a very high return of investment of 29.9% because he only made 8 predictions, so his investment was only $800. At number 8 we have Tyrell from the Running Mouth MMA Show with a profit of $305 for a 25.4% ROI. In 7th place we have Paul from the Dogger Pass podcast with a profit of $334 and a pretty high return of investment of 37.1% because he only made 9 picks and invested $900. In 6th place we have Brando MMA with a profit of $368 and a return of investment of 28.3% on his 13 predictions. In 5th place we have Brandan from the Santino DeFranco podcast with a profit of $380 and a return of investment of 29.2%. And he was 1 out of 3 channels this week who picked the biggest underdog in Gabriela Fernandez, who won versus Kong Wang, who was the biggest favorite of this card. And that single prediction gave him a profit of $675. In 4th place we have Sean, also from the Running Mouth MMA Show, with a profit of $433 and a return of investment of 36.9% over his 12 predictions. In 3rd place for most profitable predictors we have MMA Attic, who was in 5th place for the least correct picks this week. But despite that he still made a nice profit of $497 for a return of investment of 41.4%. And he was the 2nd channel who also picked Gabriela Fernandez to win, but he had another extra underdog in Nicolas Motta, who won versus Mahashati. In 2nd place we have the Finz Chats, who was the 3rd and last person that also predicted the win for Gabriela Fernandez. Following all of his picks and placing a $100 bet on the outcome of each fight, you could have won $514 for a 39.5% return of investment. And in 1st place this week as the most profitable predictor we have 138 MMA. He made 13 predictions and out of those 13, 10 were correct. He didn't pick the biggest underdog this week, but the second biggest underdog in Ming Shi, who won versus Shao Kahn Feng. So with his 10 correct picks, he made a profit of $575 for a return of investment of 44.3%. So congratulations to 138 MMA, the Finz Chats and MMA Attic for being the top 3 of most profitable predictors this week. Don't forget to check out the channels with the best results this week for most profitable predictors and the most correct picks. Links can be found in the video description below. And here is the overview of all the channels with their money won and lost and their return of investment percentage. That was it for this week's results video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it informative. There won't be any fights next week, but we'll be back in 2 weeks for UFC 310 Pantoja vs Asakura. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one.